Jersey Alternative Medicine, anti-aging, hormone replacement. Do you have trouble losing weight? Do you have trouble with your sex drive? Do you have trouble with your energy levels? Jersey Alternative Medicine. Give them a call, 609-977-2981. That's 609-977-2981, NJALTMEDS.com, all under the supervision of a physician. And we are nationwide. Jersey Alternative Medicine. Give them a call.
Are you struggling with hair loss? Well, before you give up and start rocking that bald look, get yourself a box of Novaxidil. It's the only clinically proven triple action hair loss treatment on the market. It has 5% minoxidil, which is the gold standard for regrowth. But minoxidil alone will not prevent further loss. For that, Novaxidil uses DHT blocker ketoconazole with added nicotinamide, vitamin K, biotin, and collagen peptides. Basically, every single ingredient you could possibly think of in one product. So stop rubbing peppermint oil behind your ears and get something that works. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's Novaxidil.
All right. Series of Silence Outcast has a return guest, Tommy Perno. What's up, Tom? What's happening, man?
Same old shit, different day, brother.
Well, last time you were on was a couple of years ago, and your video just continues to get views. I think it's up to like 27,000 views or something to that effect. And for a podcast my size, that's pretty damn good. But most people know you from the reality show MTV True Life, right? And but there's a whole other side to you that people don't know about, and that you've been in the bike world, the biker culture for what, 20 some odd years, 30 years?
25 years.
25 years. All right. And what's funny is that I didn't know that. And I've interviewed, Mooch, who was a Mongol, Pee Wee, who was an angel. I've had Danny D'Lo on, Hollywood Machikare. He's got Insane Throttle a podcast. So I've been trying to get you on. I have it in my mind to get you on to talk about this bike culture because it's still alive and well and whatnot, man. But how did you get involved in the bike life? Were you always into motorcycles?
So, I mean, as a kid, I immediately, I wanted a Harley. When you see a train of guys ride past you, and you're in a car and you hear that thunder and you're looking and you're like, those are some badass motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And then, so, I mean, I always wanted to get a Harley. I got to the point where I said, you know what? If I don't get one now in my life, I'm going to wind up getting married and having kids, and I'm never going to get a bike. So in 99, I decided to get a Harley. And I got one, and then I met some people, and one of the guys that I had met had, he'd been a Chingling, and he brought me, to hang around, and it started there.
What bike was it when you first in 99?
An FXDX. It's a Super Dynaglide Sport. Not to be confused with a Sportster.
Yeah, yeah.
Super Dynaglide Sport.
Yeah, why is sports is like so frowned upon in the biker world? It's like,
well, because they're the smallest ones of the crew, so basically, it's what the women ride. But yeah, I'm not going to hate on anybody. If you're on twos, you got my respect.
Yeah. So now you grew up in New Jersey, and you're in this club, the Chinglings, and they're out in the Bronx. How did you wind up hooking up with the Chinglings?
So a guy that I met through a mutual friend, he had been a Chingling, and so he said, you'd fit in this and that. And I said, yeah, in the Bronx, I'm not sure about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he said, come and chill. So I did. And I'll tell you, man, the way it was amazing. I'm sitting there like I'm this white guy from North Jersey, and I'm here in the South Bronx, and they immediately let me know that everyone there is just a Chingling. It doesn't matter, your color, your religion, your race, then nothing mattered. You were either Chingling or not. So I gravitated towards that instantly.
All right, cool. But what's funny is that, from what I understand, you're not the only Italian that was part of the Chinglings. There was one very famous Italian guy. And I only found that out recently that Chuck Zito was a Chingling before the Angels.
Yeah, he was. He was. Absolutely.
Did you ever talk to him or meet him or anything like that?
Yeah, I've met him. Great guy.
Yeah.
He was at our founding father's funeral.
Okay.
Who he rolled with. Yeah, I mean, just, a normal tough guy.
Yeah,
Real
yeah,
tough
yeah.
guy, real tough guy, you know.
Legitimate, yeah, tough guy. Legitimate tough guys have like this aura about them, their way about them. It's completely different from you could pinpoint it from a fake tough guy. It's they don't have anything to prove, and they have a certain energy about them where it's almost like I describe it like a pilot light, where they're friendly, but you could see on the inside if that pilot light is turned up a notch, you better get the fuck out of the way.
True story, true story.
So, uh, how does it work, being that you live in the Jersey and you know the clubhouse is in the Bronx?
So I mean, well, that's one of our clubhouses. We're coast to coast now.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, oh
Oh, I
yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah, yeah. We're actually in some other countries too, but for
Really?
the
Okay.
yeah. What was your question again?
And Jersey, how do you get to? How does it work out
Oh,
if you have to go to the Bronx?
so I just started, hanging around with them in the Bronx from where I grew up in East Patterson, Elmwood Park. So I mean, I
Oh,
was only like 15 minutes away. You know,
oh, Beer League Warriors apparel. Great clothing for the gym. Great clothing for any workout you do. It's that dry fit that everybody likes. Good quality, great prices. Support small business now. Don't buy from Nike or Adidas this week. Get your clothing from Beer League Warriors apparel. Just go to beerleaguewarriors.com. They have a great selection. Believe me, you won't be disappointed. Okay.
anyway, from the Bronx. So, I could get over there whenever, was necessary, when there wasn't a Yankees game going on.
Yeah, yeah, tell you
Yeah, that
the
fucks the
truth.
break all up. But
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
so, and then, hanging around for a while, I decided that, this is something for me. So
Okay.
when I was asked, if I wanted to make something of it, I obviously said yes.
How did you how was the prospecting period like?
well, it was rough. I mean, it was rough. I mean, there was no set time, back then. You prospected until you were ready, until they thought you were ready, the bosses.
Hmm.
And it was rough. It was rough.
Yeah.
I mean, they owned me. My life was kind of forfeit at the time to the club. The club came first.
Okay.
Excuse me. So, it was all the club all the time,
So you were on call 24/7.
24/7.
And anything they asked you to do, you had to do no matter what, whether it was running errands or clearing their bikes or whatever it is. That's what it was.
If you want it bad enough, yeah, you'll do it. So
Yeah. How
yeah,
long was the prospecting period?
I prospected for about a year.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe yeah, yeah. I mean, times were way different back then. You know, now it's things move a lot faster. Back then they didn't move fast. You had to put your time in to earn a patch.
I've heard
Now,
that before. Why is that?
well, because the old school ways are dying. Everybody's they want gratification, they want satisfaction, they want it now. you
Mm,
know but I tell them all this. What's just given to you easily doesn't mean much to you, but something you work your fucking ass off for, and you grind for it, then you have something. Now it means something to you.
it's the truth.
In this lifestyle, you don't want some part-timers. You know what I mean? You got to be in it all the time, or not. You
Right.
get your brothers killed,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
or
Yeah.
worse, you're locked up, whatever.
So you prospected for about a year, and did you have any issues with MC clubs in Jersey? Because there's a lot of North Jersey clubs too. I mean, they had I mean, I don't know the support clubs, but the big two in Jersey are always the Pagans and the Angels and whatnot.
Yeah, we don't have any problems with anybody unless they have a problem with us.
Oh, all
You
right,
know what I
good.
mean? I mean,
Yeah.
we've always, we've been around since 1966.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to tell us where we can or can't go.
Yeah, right, right, right,
That
right.
being said, we have respect for everybody, and if it turns another way, then we're ready to go.
Yeah. How now how many states are you in now? So I know you were in the Bronx, you went up what you were the original one is in the Bronx, right? Or am I mistaken? It was in New Rochelle.
No, no, no. Mother chapters in the Bronx. That's the original.
Okay. And then how nationwide are you now?
We're in a lot of states.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. And so you must have moved under the radar because no everybody, you know what it is? I think when a massive club moves, like the Angels or the Pagans or the Banditos. All our eyes on them, and the smaller clubs probably gives them a lot more room to actually maneuver and say, okay, we're going to open a chapter here, a chapter there, and it's probably a lot easier from what I gather. Is it accurate or no?
I mean, somewhat, but it's really never easy because
Okay,
once you establish and open up a chapter, it's going to be known, So you have
right.
to be prepared one way or the other.
Okay. All right. Now, do you have to have a blessing like from a larger group, or it's just uh, you go to where you want to go?
I mean, you can ask for a blessing, but when you do something like that, then you're kind of you're lower on the totem pole. If you're
Ah,
asking somebody
okay.
for permission, then all of a sudden it's like you're their son.
I
You know what I
got you.
mean? So, it's never done for disrespect. It's usually only done because there's a bunch of guys that live in that area,
Right, right,
you
right, right,
know,
right.
and people claim, clubs claim territory and shit like that, but that is what it is. I think if we're not stepping on your toes, it is what it is.
Yeah. Now, from what I understand from the interviews I've done with Mooch and Pee Wee and Danny D'Lo, it's all about territory. It's not like they had explained to me that the large majority of the guys are just basically hardworking guys that want male camaraderie and like to ride. It's not like it was in the 70s and 80s where there's drugs and killings and shootings. It's far from that now. And they say that a lot of it is just basically hardworking dudes that just want to hang out and be part of something that they believe in. Is that true?
I'll go with that.
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
All right, sounds good. That sounds good. That's good. At least you're honest, dude. You know. Um. What else was I going to say? Okay. There's some the Chinglings have some strange they have some strange, I guess you can call them I don't know, rules or regulations, especially when another brother dies. All right. Why don't you go into that a little bit?
Well, I mean, I guess it looks on the outside maybe like disrespect, but to us, it's it's the utmost respect.
Right.
So we'll, a brother who has passed, will go to their gravestone and we'll smoke a joint, blow the smoke on the gravestone, throw
Right.
throw a little cocaine on there,
Right.
little booze, spit booze at it sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just, those brothers that have passed, they partied hard.
Yeah. Right.
We want to keep them partying hard. So it's just, I walked into that. I mean, the first time I was on a run, a cemetery run, and I saw this going on, I was like, what the fuck? We're going to get thrown out of this fucking cemetery quick. And then I was like, well, who's going to fucking throw us out?
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, so I guess I got accustomed to it.
Do they start the bikes on the cemetery
Oh,
on
yeah.
top of? They start
Oh,
the
yeah.
bikes on top of
Oh,
it.
yeah. 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 I mean, nothing is sacred except for our brothers on that day.
Right. Right.
We
Right.
try to respect everybody, but at the same time, we're going to put it in for our brothers.
Now, how high are you on the pecking order in the club? Are you because I know there's a sergeant at arms, presidents, vice presidents. There's a different hierarchy.
Well, I mean, I paint a bullseye on my head if I was to tell you, but
Oh, okay. Never
I don't
mind.
answer. I
We
don't
don't have to
answer
go
to
into that.
anybody. Yeah, I don't answer to anybody.
Okay. Well, then, hey, all right. Good. That's good to know. Oh man. So then I think there was a documentary done, but this was like when we were kids. This is old. What was it? The 90s that it
Yeah,
happened?
yeah. I believe it was 94, 95 with the A&E.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, it was A&E. It was a 94. I actually watched it not long ago, actually, because once I started interviewing guys in that life, I had to like do a little research. So I watched that. I watched a whole bunch of them. I have another guy coming on that's a former bandito this weekend. So in that documentary, did you wind up meeting any of those guys when you actually became a member?
yes.
Yeah, they were, and
Yeah.
the documentary didn't paint them in a bad light at all. It was basically, like we said, it was basically, guys that just had camaraderie. They belonged to the club. You see them working. They see they're family men. But they're just true masculine, manly men that would are family men, and they have a purpose. Their children, the club, their life. And what's funny is that the little bit that I know, right? It seems like the normal traditions are just what guys would have done years ago. Protect each other, have each other's back, make sure no nonsense goes on in the neighborhood. Um, Nobody messes with anybody's family. Nobody messes with anybody's girl or wife. It seems like normal tradition, but today those things they don't exist anymore. It only kind of exists in that world now, which is kind of sad. Don't you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, the old school ways are dying, but they're dying across the board.
Right.
I mean, um, money is ruling a lot of people's decisions and pussy, I mean, brotherhood's brotherhood, nothing should come before that,
Right.
and sometimes those lines get a little blurry to some guys.
Right.
And then you have a problem that's way bigger than what it started at. Started out as something small between a guy and a girl. Next thing you know, there's another club involved, and shit just starts escalating quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, the old school ways are they're dying. They're dying. I mean, that those are normal things that normal guys would do.
Yeah.
Protect your brothers. You're out with guys, you protect them. You're with them. You go home together, either fucking in a hearse, in an ambulance, or fucking together on bikes.
And even in the old neighborhoods, like we've discussed this before, even in the old neighborhoods, you didn't have to belong to a club. If somebody was acting out in the neighborhood, if somebody was dealing drugs, if somebody was abusing like a girl, if somebody was diddling an underage girl or boy, I mean, it was dealt with in the neighborhood. You didn't have to belong to a club. It was like he's doing what? And the guys in the neighborhood took care of it. And they were mafia guys and they weren't club members. It was just protecting your own. And that it's unfortunate because that seems dead. And the only spot where it lives is in the club life, from what I could tell.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I,
that's true. We're holding on to it as much as we can. But I mean, it's kind of crazy how much that's changed in
right,
the world. I mean, where I grew up is just like where you grew up.
right.
We took care of our own. We were the police basically. On the street. Whatever happened, we regulated shit. But
Mm,
it's not that way in society anymore. I think the way people are being raised has changed. We were raised with an old school mentality, with a hard nosed father who's tough, and he held us accountable. No, you don't get a fucking trophy just because you participated. You suck. You know what I mean. You move on to something else. You know,
right.
um, but it's not that way anymore. Most people they're over entitled and privileged, and they don't want to get involved in shit that doesn't concern them because maybe they might get hurt.
Right.
But you know what? I mean, us real men, we look at it like, what? I'm going to be hurt if I don't do something about it because I can do something about it.
Right.
And I'm not going to stand for that shit. So you know what? Fuck everything else when it comes down to it.
Right.
It's you fuck with one of us or our families or someone we love. Let's get it. Let's
Yeah.
come. You know.
When because I remember when the Angels had the clubhouse on Third Street. The big talking point about that block, especially during the times like in the 70s when New York City was real bad in the 80s, there was no crime on that block. Everybody was safe.
Oh yeah.
Is it
Oh
the
yeah.
same way? Is it the same way in the Bronx and in the block where your clubhouse is?
So I mean, I've been thanked by people on the street so many times that
Really?
with us there, it's safer. And that's contrary to what everybody would believe in the world. Because they hear this, they hear that. And it's like when we do wrong, nobody forgets, but when we do right, nobody remembers. You know, so yeah, it's the same way though. I mean, they thank us all the time. You know, until sometimes some of them have a family member who gets into it with one of us, and then maybe goes a different route. But you
Well,
know,
can you give
yeah,
me a story about when you actually there was somebody that was just acting a fool in the block or the area, and you had to police it yourself?
yeah. Actually, you know what? I'll talk. I'll share this because it was somebody that I brought to the clubhouse myself. It was a good friend of mine.
Mm.
And I had laid the law down to him. Told him how to act when he's there. And he did not. He was running his mouth. He got really drunk,
Oh,
talking shit, just acting like the worst that you could ever imagine. You're like, oh man, this is not what I fucking wanted.
right.
So, at the time, I was just a fullback, so had my full patches, but I wasn't an officer or anything.
Mhm.
And the order came down that I had to handle it. So, this was my boy. He was a close friend, but he was acting wrong. And shit was coming out of his mouth that shouldn't have been coming out of his mouth, and I had to make a choice. So I chose the club because the club was right and he was wrong.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't understand some of these guys. I really don't, because I truly believe that the idea that I'm going to get checked keeps us in line, right? And when you're in an atmosphere knowing that you're going to get checked, I mean, nobody's saying you can't have a good time. Nobody's saying you can't have a drink and be sociable and so on and so forth. But it would be as if you went into somebody's house and acted a fool. And it's, instead of being kicked out or asked to leave, there are other consequences. But I don't understand the mentality of somebody who can just go into somebody else's house, and act the fool and not think there are consequences. It just baffles me. So no, I don't think you were wrong in that situation whatsoever. And that guy, I mean, what did he think he was for? It just blows me away. It really does. It absolutely blows me away. If it's, I don't. It's just, I mean, whatever. At this point, you and I have known each other for some time, so you and I are basically on the same thought process, and it's just I can't even process it. It's unbelievable. But anyway, so tell me about your bikes. How many bikes have you had since you joined the club?
So I got three. I have all three of them.
You still got all three of the same?
Yeah, I have
So you
three.
have your original,
I started out with the Super Dynaglide Sport.
right?
That's a 99 FXDX. And then I got a 2008 Fat Boy,
Mm.
and I got a 2021 Street Glide Limited.
I remember when you got that because you
Oh
showed it
yeah.
to me. Yeah, yeah, you showed it to me when you got that. Yeah, that one was really nice. Do you ever go to any of the events like every year in Brooklyn? There's the God, what's his name? The guy that died. They have the block party every year.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I mean,
Uh,
the guys, some of the guys go to some things. I only go to ones that are necessary for me. You know,
okay. All
at
right.
this stage of the game in my life,
Yeah.
you know, I
Yeah.
sit
Wait.
back. Yeah, I'm older now. I gotta
What
say,
about what about when you were younger? Did you go to
fuck yeah,
Sturgis? Yeah. 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 You wouldn't
fuck
miss a
yeah,
party.
whenever, let's go, and I ain't sleeping until I get home.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Oh, what
So
is his name? What is the guy's name I'm thinking of? Like Indian Larry. Indian
that's it.
Larry.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it. Yeah. As every year
He
they
used to
have.
come by. We used to, he used to come by the block.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, every year they have that block party in Brooklyn, and it's still it's people come from everywhere. It's like like everybody knows Sturgis, everybody knows I forgot the name of the other one that's in Florida every year. Um,
Daytona, Laconia.
right,
Yeah,
they all
yeah,
know those, but
yeah,
the one in Brooklyn, it's kind of like this unspoken law that only like real bikers know about, but
yeah.
it's a
That's
huge
where shit
party.
goes down.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Always
yeah.
in Brooklyn, baby.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's unbelievable, and they still let it go. They still let it ride. It's there's been talks about that closing that down for forever, and it still keeps on going every year. And it's a good show. I mean, I haven't been there. I would definitely plan to go. I definitely want to go sooner or later, but it's a good show. They have a lot of guys that do tricks on their bikes, and bands, and everybody's having a good time, and I don't know. It just looks like a good time. I definitely want to get there sooner or later.
Yeah, you're riding now, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got what's funny, man? You and I talked about this, but I bought a 2015 uh breakout, and I
Yeah.
bought it for $13,000, and I dropped 12,000 into it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Instantly, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. It's unreal. It doesn't even look like the same, and you never finished. You're like next
No,
year, I want
no,
to.
no.
Yeah,
It just evolves into something
yeah,
else now.
yeah,
You
and
got
then
one team that way exactly the way you wanted it,
Yeah.
and changed it up again.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Now I'm like, "Ah, I don't think I want these bars anymore. I don't think I want this anymore. I don't think I want that anymore, man. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, man.
So, have you ever come into have you ever had a prospect where he wanted things way too fast and you had to like basically, say, nah, man, it doesn't work this way. Or a prospect that you had to tell maybe there was like something political where you were like, I really like this kid, but like, yeah, I can't have it. Anything that because when I interviewed Pee Wee, he had told me he had prospected for the Angels for almost 10 years before he was in. And it was the first time was 2 years and they told him no and he couldn't figure it out. And then he left and then he went back and he had to go to San Fran and prospect all over again and so on and so forth. Have you ever had an issue where you like this kid or you like this guy and he'd really be good, but for some reason or another, you just this kid, nah, can't hack it, can't do it.
Yeah, many times.
Really?
Yeah, many times. I tend to see I'll see a strength in somebody, and I'll see their weaknesses as well. But I like to think that I can maximize their strength and minimize their weakness, and I can
Hmm.
build them into somebody.
Right.
But I learned my lesson with that a long time ago.
Right.
So I mean, it happens all the time that you got guys that they you can't serve two masters, right? So if you have a guy who could be really about this lifestyle and really be good, but maybe he's got a drug problem, maybe he's got a drinking problem, and you can't serve two masters.
I see.
So
Yeah.
there in there lies a big problem. We're one percenters, fuck the world, we do whatever we want, we party hard, we do all this shit, but at the same time, what are you going to do when at the end of the day when all this shit goes down like that? You know?
Right. 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 Yeah, that kind of has to suck, right? You see a good kid, but he just has a problem, and you can't let him in because of that issue, that problem. And it's a lot of things people don't realize that even that decision making, or or possibly having to tell a member he's not a member anymore, and that's got to be difficult as well, right? I'm sure that's happened.
It depends on if they're getting a bad out or a good out. I mean,
Oh, that's right. That's right.
that's not too easy to tell them if it's a bad out.
So once you go into that a little bit, what's the difference between going out bad and going out good?
Well, if you're out bad, then no contact with the club
Right.
at all from that moment forward.
Right.
And it must have been something. They had to fuck up pretty bad,
Right.
get a bad out. I mean, we we're all men. We all have hearts. You have a brother who's been in for maybe 10, 15 years sometimes, and shit goes
Hmm.
south, and that hurts. There are times, I'll speak in general. I'll speak in general here, but
Hmm.
I was in a situation where one time, I had to get the patches of somebody who was my elder, who
Hmm.
was I respected to the
Right.
utmost, and so it was very difficult for me, but I had to do it. There was
Wow.
no question about it. I mean, and he was as close as somebody could be to me in the club as a mentor, as a father, as an outlaw father.
Hmm. And I'm not going to ask what he did, but how did that go down? Was it peaceful? Was he like, yeah, I get it,
No, it
No,
wasn't.
that's
No, it
even
wasn't
worse.
peaceful.
That's worse.
No, I mean, no brother is going to give you his patches. Not easily.
Right.
If he hands them over easily, then they weren't worth shit to him in the first place. I mean,
Uh,
I'll never hand these over. You got to
right.
try and get them off my dead body. My demons will fuck you up.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They ain't never coming off.
Have you ever had a situation where somebody claimed to be a member and wasn't, and you had to deal with it?
Yeah, yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Oh, I don't
yeah. Well,
understand these
it
people,
was
man.
right. He was a prospect who didn't make it, and then was going around and fronting like he was a Chingling, but
Oh,
not with patches or anything, obviously, but was running his mouth as such, and it causes problems.
oh God. I don't
And just
understand these fucking people.
imagine how that goes down. It's why like perception's reality, right? So, you have a guy like that, and he's saying he's a chingling, this and that, and then all of a sudden he's talking to somebody from another club, and he's saying this, he's saying that, whatever. Now all of a sudden now he has no authority. He maybe has a bat out. He's a disenfranchised little fucking punk.
Right.
Now he's got to try and do something to save his little face. Meantime, that only makes it worse. But that shit
Oh,
happens.
oh,
Yeah,
that
you shake your head. You shake, because where we came from and the way we were raised, you fuck that dude up all day, every day.
I don't know. I don't understand that. What do they think is going to happen? Like, what do they think they think there's not going they're not going to check? Like, you're going to tell them, like it's just yeah. Oh, okay. Come on. I mean, it
Yeah.
just doesn't. I don't know. It just blows me away. Like some of these guys, it's just unreal because I've seen online that you could buy patches, you could buy 1% patches, you could buy patches pretty much from any club on Amazon, and I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah, yeah.
Why
You
would
know,
you
I,
do that?
I mean, it's not a smart move. It's not a
Yeah.
smart move. I'll
First of
tell
all,
you right now, man.
like you said, you're not going to earn it, so I don't understand why people would do it if they don't earn. I can
So, but that
understand,
could
like,
cause a war, John. Think about it.
yeah, right,
Somebody wears those patches and goes and does some fuck shit with another club or something. Meantime, that motherfucker's not a part of anything.
right,
And
right,
now
right,
all of a
right,
sudden a
right,
war. That now you're at war. For
right,
what?
for
How do
nothing,
you vet that? How do you prevent that?
right.
I mean, at this stage of the game, it can't be prevented. I don't think it's going to happen. If it hasn't
Right.
happened already, it's going to happen.
What's your perception of these guys that were former bikers, or they were former one percenters, and now they're writing books and they're going on podcasts and they're giving a lot more information than you would normally permit, right? What's your perception on that? Especially, I mean, the mafia guys forget it; they just spill their guts. It's just unbelievable. But the 1% bikers still have to tiptoe around it, but they still tell some things about the club and what goes down and so on and so forth. What is your attitude toward these guys? Is it like, hey, listen, you got to make a buck, do what you can, or is it like, nah, that's a no go?
So I mean, in the first part, they shouldn't have to make a buck because the way I would like it to be, and I bet you every 1% club would like this. You know what? When a guy if he retires in good standing, he should be taken care of by the club. Plain and simply, put his time in. He's in good standing. He's an older man now. He's whatever, maybe his health's failing or whatever. He should be taken care of. The
Right,
club should take care of him. As far as the guys that most of those guys they've left under weird circumstances, right? Now, listen. I mean, there's some of them that I know they got fucked by the club
mm,
that they're with, and very famous people.
right,
And I sit there and I'm like, man, they got fucked, and they're painted in a different light. So I can understand them telling their story,
right,
but I would just prefer them keep it about their story as opposed to their story with the club, because now, whether they're pissed off at that club in the present or not, motherfuckers are going to be implicated in shit you say that you were supposedly close to back then.
mm,
So, when it comes to details and stuff, keep your fucking mouth shut.
right.
You knew what it was when you got into it. So don't talk shit. Don't go running your mouth for a fucking dollar. I mean, a bullet is a lot cheaper. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
right,
saying? It's a lot
right,
cheaper than so. I mean, they should keep their mouth shut about what goes on. Certain details about club life. But I mean, I mean, I'm doing this because we should put ourselves out there. We're normal human beings. We're
right,
regular dudes. We're just a little old school in our ways, and we just don't take shit.
right.
I mean, that's the way most real men are.
That's right.
Society has fucking made us, like put our tail between our legs, but we're not fucking putting our tail between our legs. We're putting our hands up.
Right, right, right,
You
right.
know?
You would think that because when you go on YouTube, there's a lot of I don't know what you want to call it, manosphere. That's what they call it, the manosphere, where there's a lot of YouTubers that are teaching these young kids who don't have a father figure or who brought up, feminine like, that's saying, hey, listen, that's not the way to do it. Obviously, uh the most famous is uh the kickboxer. What's his name? Oh Christ.
Van Dam?
Tate. No, no, Andrew Tate. Yeah, Van Damme. Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan Tate, right? Of course, they're the most famous, but then you have, you got a whole bunch of them, Charleston White. You got a whole bunch of these guys. You would think that because there's this kind of wave of young kids that are turning more conservative and trying to reestablish themselves as more masculine and are getting away from how they were raised. You would think that there would be a flood of kids going toward the biker clubs because of the camaraderie, the motorcycles, the fun, the old school traditions. Do you see that? And if you don't see it, why do you think?
So I really don't see it.
Mm,
And I think because I don't think people are willing to put in the work anymore of what it takes.
mm,
And I think that turns people away. They want the result. They want to see that brotherhood. Like, oh, it's great when something happens. You have all these guys that are next to you, willing to die for you. You
right.
know, whether you're right or you're wrong. If you're wrong, we'll deal with you later.
Yeah.
But you're right when we're in public. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. But I don't see that coming. There's not a rush of guys trying to come this way. It's tough, but some clubs are under the mass numbers kind of theory, like that shop rate theory. You make more profit by the more products you sell.
Mm,
So we don't. I mean, I don't. We don't think that way. You know what I mean?
right.
I'd rather have one quality guy than 10 fucking bullshit motherfuckers.
Right. 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 Right.
So you don't see the numbers growing as they should be at this stage of the game because I think that people are not willing to put in the time. They're not willing to put in the work and to discipline some people, and that's what it takes. Because look, if you can't take orders when it's a calm, peaceful setting, what are you going to do when bullets are flying?
Right.
You know what I mean? You're going to shit yourself. What are you going
Chaos
to do?
happens. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it does. You never know. So, you have to have the right combination in each guy as well, which is tough. They have to have balls, they have to have brains. Try and find the two in the same guy.
Yeah. It's
It's a
difficult.
dying breed. It's a
Yeah.
dying breed.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? It's tough.
Is there any fear of recruitment that there is not people coming around and joining the clubs? I mean, sooner or later, guys get older and they might die off. They leave the club. Is there any fear of whether it's your club or clubs in general that these young guys just aren't attracted to it?
I mean, I'm sure that that's in the back of some guys' minds,
Hmm.
but it's never going to die. It's
Yeah.
never going to die. It's like what do we play? Cowboys and Indians as kids,
Yeah.
cops and
Right.
robbers. That it's the balance. You have the one side and you have the other side. Now, I'm not saying which side is the good side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fuck
It's a
that
good way
shit.
to look
I
at it,
think
though.
we
You're
all
right.
know. Yeah. Sometimes you got to do bad things for a good reason. That's just my quote. I have to throw that in
No, I think you're right. I think you
That's
know.
my.
I think you're actually right about that. I think yeah, what makes a man righteous is the idea that he can be dangerous, but that he can't control it. But you have to be able to know that you are dangerous, right? So if you're just a nice guy and you're nice all the time, that doesn't really make you special, does it?
No,
No,
not at
it
all.
really doesn't.
Not at all. You're a
Yeah,
special target, Nagy.
yeah,
You're a
yeah,
special
right.
target.
But if you're a good dude and you're a nice guy, but like I said, you have that pilot light on all the time because you've had a past, you've had history, and you're a legitimate tough guy. It's it,
It's fucking torture.
yeah.
It's
Well,
fucking
it's
torture.
it's torture. But what I'm trying to say is it makes that it makes it harder to be a noble person, but it's worth it knowing that that person is noble. Whether because if you're just a nice guy, it's easy to be nice. And when the shit hits the fan, that nice guy is gonna just fall apart, right?
Gotta
Um,
keep your pride though.
right, right, yeah, 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 yeah. So when you have guys that are like somebody like yourself, or maybe it could be veterans, it could be other guys that went to prison, or it could be whatever the case may be. Um, but they change themselves and they're able to control that aspect. I think you find something special. And again, I think it's something. I think it's a dying breed, but uh, when you find it in your culture, it seems to be more prevalent, but it seems to be a bubble because once you step outside of your culture, it's few and far between, man. Like even having a conversation with somebody and you say, really, that's what you believe in? You really think that whatever, you really think that a trans woman is a woman? Like really? Like fucking really? Do you know what I mean? It just blows. It's like, how do you even, right?
It's frustrating.
Yeah,
Frustrating. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Now, are there different in your culture, in the MC culture, are there different types of guys, like, or are they all basically the same kind of guy? Are some clubs more dangerous than others? Are other clubs more just chill, kind of chill dudes? Or is it basically, all the same kind of guy? They have to be noble, they have to be intelligent, they got to have balls, and they have to be able to stand up for themselves. Or is every club a little bit different?
So I mean, every club's a little different. I mean, you know, it's not all the same guy. You
Hmm.
know, people should play in their own sandboxes, so to speak.
Okay.
So, if you want to be effective as a club, you have to have people in different areas where that's their expertise, where their expertise lies, right?
Hmm.
So you want to compartmentalize those people, play in your sandbox. You don't
Hmm.
want that guy who's good in, let's say, business. You don't want him going in and going to, how do I say this? He's good with business. He's good with numbers. You don't want him maybe going to handle a problem where somebody just got jumped.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you want guys to play in their own sandbox. You know, the image, of course, most clubs want is the big badass motherfuckers in front. You know, but how smart are they? How smart are
Right.
the men behind them? It's checkers and chess. You know, a lot of what you see now is more posturing than anything. You know,
Okay. So now let's get into the girls, the wives, the girlfriends. How are they treated? And do they have are there girls that are actual members, or they're just the ladies, the wives, the girlfriends?
well, there's property patches, so
Okay.
those are the wives and the girlfriends, and that means something. Um,
Mm,
I'll just let me just say this: it's nowhere near like what it was back in the day. Not even close. I
mm,
mean, any brother's girlfriend or woman, uh, old lady, wife, whatever you want to call it, is you know sacred. She's a sister to us because if that's my brother, that's his girl. That's my sister,
right,
right?
right, right, right.
So I mean, that's always treated. And if those lines ever get fucking crossed, they never get crossed again.
Yeah, right. It's dealt
You know,
with, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Um, in the world of I do a lot of interviews with the mafia guys, and today, whatever's left, from what I understand, there are these certain rules and regulations they have to keep what they have left together. So there's a no kill law, no drugs. They want to keep violence to a minimum because they know that they're a target. Is it the same way in clubs where it's like, let's keep heat off of us because we're always under that scope, and let's not try and make this something that everybody believes that it is. Let's push forward to make the club look and be more noble than what people think.
I mean, if they're smart, that's what they're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
You don't want everybody to know what you're doing when you're doing it. So absolutely. I mean, move underneath the radar, and I think there's room for all of us. That and that's the issue.
Right.
I mean, we're all the fucking same. Why are we all wearing different patches and going at it with each other? We have enough assholes out there in the world that are different than us and don't like us.
Hmm.
We go at it with all them. What the fuck would the world do if all the one percenters fucking teamed up?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. 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 Right.
What
Yeah.
would everybody do then? I mean, it would be a fucking, it would be tough for anybody to do anything. you know. But maybe one day we'll see.
Well, there were rumors floating around. What about 6 months ago? Maybe yeah, about 6 months ago, a year ago, when the illegal migrants were coming in. I believe it was what was it, Chicago? There were rumors floating around that 1% bikers were going to go and handle it, but obviously that seemed to be just a rumor. It never really happened. Was it a rumor, or did you hear anything like that, or was that just fairy tale bullshit?
I mean, if anybody puts it out there and the media knows about it, then I have to say right there it was bullshit from the start.
Ah, right,
You,
right,
you
right.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean, and that's kind of shit that pisses me off.
right,
Like, if you're gonna do something, you know how to move. You move with
right,
silence and violence. Go and take care of it. The left hand should know what the right hand's doing with something like that.
right,
And all of a sudden it's out there. Man, if somebody put it out there, I mean, it would have to be bullshit. I,
right.
I would think. I would like to think. I would like to think. Because otherwise that's just sloppy.
Hmm.
Plain and
Can
simple.
I can I ask you about some of your patches?
Sure.
All right. If I ask a patch and you don't want to say it, just say don't want to talk about it, whatever. Um, Nomad, the one you have in your front. What does Nomad mean?
So I am part of the Nomad chapter. I was part
Okay.
of the Nomad chapter.
All right.
Now I'm always with Mother chapter though.
Okay. What's the difference?
So
Is it
Nomad, Nomad chapter, a lot of clubs have, and they just they travel around from chapter to chapter,
ah
make sure everything's good.
okay. All right. So they don't belong to like a specific chap. They're able to move about.
They're their own chapter.
I see. Okay. Oh, I got it. I got it.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. And explain the 1% patch because
sure.
there's 1%, there's 1%. What's the difference?
So people got this all fucked up. So back in the day, there was a fight in a bar, and I believe it was the booze fighters were there, and these MCs just started after World War II with
Hmm.
disenfranchised veterans,
Right.
and they were at a bar. They were all wearing their patches, and they got in a fight with civilians. The civilians started the fight, actually.
Hmm.
Booze fighters win the fight.
Okay.
Now, all of a sudden, there's a mass media thing that Harley Davidson outlaw motorcycle riders beat up a bunch of civilians in a bar, right? So, and now this goes on and on. So, Harley Davidson almost lost all of their sales. They almost went out of business
Hmm.
because of this. So, Harley Davidson came back out with a counter campaign that said 99% of the people that ride Harley Davidsons are good law abiding citizens. 1% of them are outlaws.
Hmm.
That's where the 1% term comes from.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. You know why you brought up the booze fighters? You know why when I bought the bike because there's a couple of clubs in Jersey, and Mooch. I said, I was thinking about joining a club, and he's like, "Oh, the booze fighters would be perfect for you because all they want to do is hang out and have a good time and drink and whatnot." And I was like, "All right, cool." So I talked to one of the guys. I don't remember. They wouldn't let me. They wouldn't let me in. They wouldn't even let me. They wouldn't let me even prospect. Nothing. And I said, and you know what the reason was?
No.
Because I interview guys like you. I swear to God, I'm not kidding. He goes, because if there was ever an issue between you and one of the guys that you interview, then it's not just your problem, then it's the club's problem. And we don't want that. And I was like, dude, you could go look at the videos. I mean,
You know how
it's,
many problems you can get from any other guy?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
really.
mean, that's not a bad problem to have.
Yeah, it was
You know what
just,
I mean?
I was like, all right, man, it is what it is. It is what it is. And there was another club that said the same thing. And I was like, all right, this is ridiculous. I'm not doing it because I'm not going to give up podcasting.
No
Right.
way. Why
That's,
should you have to? Why
yeah,
should you have to?
that's not but it is what it
So I
is.
didn't give
But
it. I didn't give it up because of the patches either.
yeah, right. I
No,
know. I
I don't
know.
give a shit. This is what it is.
So, how many people do you know when they see you? Do they recognize you from the show in that biker world?
So it gets around. It's
Yeah,
been getting around.
yeah,
But for the most part, when people see me, they don't look at me as Tommy Cheeseballs in
yeah,
this world.
yeah,
They look at me as Tommy Guns, and they know who the fuck I am.
yeah. Well, that's
The
how you
other,
have.
the
That's why I have
other, the
you on my
other,
phone,
yeah. Why as
Tommy
well?
Guns.
Oh, okay, good. Because the cheese balls thing.
Yeah, I know, I know.
I would have
Yeah,
picked anything else, John. Anything.
yeah, yeah,
Sausage
yeah.
fingers, whatever the fuck you want. But fucking not cheese balls.
Yeah, we when we talked about it, then I actually changed your name from Tommy Perno on my phone to Tommy Guns.
There you go. There you
That's
go.
it.
Two N's
So
and a Z.
so how much time? I'm only going to ask you a couple more questions, man, and I'm going to let you go.
Yeah.
How much time do you have to now that you are been in the club for this long? How much time do you have to go to church and spend time and so on and so forth, or is it kind of established that you could pretty much do what you want at this point?
I mean, church is, church is church. You
Right.
know, it's whenever it's necessary, and it's at least, every month. But
Mm,
but whenever it's necessary. I mean, it should be every week.
right. So why don't you explain what the church is for people who don't know?
Well, it's just a meeting where everyone gets together and you talk each chapter and you talk about what's going on in that chapter and
Hmm.
handle any issues, problems, solve any problems, figure out who you're, going to raise money for this week.
Yeah. All right, very cool, man. And any rides coming up? I know it's getting colder out now, but you guys ride all year long, right?
All the fucking time.
Yeah,
Doesn't
yeah,
matter, man. It doesn't matter. That's my therapy. That's our therapy. If
yeah,
you imagine what the fuck you ride, what the fuck would you do without riding now?
yeah. I know it is because I don't ride like you. Once it starts getting into like December, January, I'm like, fuck this. It's
They
too
got
fucking
heated
cold.
gear now, bro. They have heated gear. No, no shoes.
I know my brother does that. He has the
It's
whole
worth
leather
it.
outfit that he plugs into the bike. I
Yeah.
swear to God, I'm not kidding. He's got the
You know,
whole
I,
from
I
head
still
to
won't do
toe.
the full. I still won't do the full face helmet. I just won't. I refuse.
Yeah.
I refuse.
Yeah, I don't blame you because it kind of takes away something from riding. You kind of want to
Oh,
feel the air in your face.
yeah.
Yeah.
I want that wind going through my hair. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, brother. Listen, Tommy, I'm gonna let you go, man. It's always a pleasure, brother. Really is, man. Much love and much respect to you.
Likewise, brother. Right back at you.
We'll be in touch. We always talk.
Hit me up, man. Let's ride.
All right, definitely. I'll talk to you soon, bro.
You got it, brother.
Later.